name Mick Rossi's Gun Street, it came from a place on the outskirts of Manchester. In the outskirts of Manchester is a place called Ancoats. And in Ancoats there's a street called Gun Street. And it's actually where the Italian immigrants in the 30s all emigrated to Manchester and landed in Manchester. And predominantly Ancoats and Gun Street and around that area was an Italian neighborhood for the immigrants. And so my grandfather used to live on Gun Street. So my dad as a kid would play on those cobbled streets. So it has great meaning to me. And I've just learned as well that in the 30s and 40s, actually on Gun Street, 70% of the residents were musicians. I mean, which is, you know, it's incredible to learn that. So that's where the name originated from. It has a deep meaning for me because it's literally where I'm from, you know. Plus, it's a cool fucking name, so. Members of Gun Street. Well, let's start with Mark Reback. Mark Reback is a drummer of Gun Street. And Mark's been with me, I think, 5 years now. He was in the last incarnation of Slaughtering the Dogs. And then when I went out with the Heartbreakers, the LAMF, with the late, great Walter Lure, Mark was the drummer on that. So now he's with me on Gun Street. Then on bass, we have Dan Graziano, brilliant bass player, total rock star. And yeah, Dan, same thing. He was in the last incarnation of Slaughtering the Dogs, the Heartbreakers, and now Gun Street. And it made sense for me to keep that unit together because they're just, first of all, great guys, and then great at what they do. With the addition now, we've added Jennifer Alicia, which is Dan's fiance, about to be married, on backing vocals. Now, she's an amazing talent in her own right. She's just sings like a motherfucker. She just sings brilliantly. So she was a great addition. And then on keyboards, I added an old bandmate of mine from way back called Jerry Evans, great keyboard player. And Jerry and I go way, way back, and we were in a band called The Duelists. So that kind of rounds up the band members. I wanted to make, first of all, I wanted to make an honest record, which was something coming from the soul. It's important to me. I think if it comes from the soul, you can't fake that. People will feel that and hopefully resonate with it. So the album I wanted to make was a good rock and roll album, because prior to this I'd done, during lockdown, I'd done an acoustic album called All the Saints and All the Souls. And that was I'm very proud of that record, but it was a very stripped down record, predominantly acoustic. And so this next record, I always knew that I wanted to make a good rock and roll album. So I feel that, we've achieved that. Just a good rock and roll album, good songs, good melodies, and something to say too. Man, oh man! As a great question. As a kid, I remember being in our council flat, which is like government housing, because we were very, very poor and just working class family. I remember watching Top of the Pops, which is a music show, and Bowie came on and did Starman. And there's a line in Starman when he goes, "I had to phone someone, so I picked on you," and he pointed straight into the camera. And I genuinely thought he was pointing to me, like 20 million other people. So that was my first awakening to something brilliant. And so Bowie was a big influence. But of course I gravitated to the blonde guitar player playing a Les Paul. And I didn't even know what a Les Paul was at that age. So those early Bowie, Ronson, Lou Reed, Mark Bolan, that they all seeped into my DNA, because for me it was so untouchable seeing these artists. They were dangerous, they were sexy, that they were something like I'd never seen before, And I was just fascinated by that. And on top of that is the songs were so infectious, killer melodies. They all looked great. That and then certainly the New York scene, Lou Reed, the New York Dolls, Iggy Pop, they all played a part in my musical influences. My musical influences as a kid, they seep into your DNA, and you never lose that. It's not a passing thing. They stay within your musical heart and soul. And so, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a record from those early influences that shaped me as a kid, and even though the record, Gun Street record, is of now and it's fresh and it's of this moment, this very, very moment, still those artists, they guide you. They really, really guide you. And what happens is when you're a kid, you want to emulate your heroes. And everybody does that. You're not just born and say, you know what, I'm a genius, no one's come before me, that's it. You take guidance, but eventually that you find who you are yourself through that guidance. They're like guidelines for you. And so they were my guidelines making Gun Street. My approach on producing Gun Street was to try and capture that feel of those records that I adored when I was a kid. Those records from the 70s, like Slider, T-Rex, Aladdin Sane, David Bowie, Aladdin Sane, David Bowie, and so my approach to the production was really to create an overall body of songs that could fit in that era, easily fit in that area, but at the same time being of this moment and of now and fresh, because these songs are fresh. They're of this time now. But those early influences and my approach to the record was always to try and create something that would fit back then. Well, first of all, I love Craig. We've go back many years. We've done many records together, and so on the first level we have this great friendship, which is, as I said, we've known each other for many years. And then secondly, Craig is a genius at what he does. He's a great artist in his own right. He's a producer, Grammy-nominated, amazing guitar player. Just released his first solo album, which is magnificent. So I know working with Craig, I'm getting the full deal. I get all his musical skills. I get a man with a great heart, and I get a man who understands what I'm trying to do. We have a great shorthand. I mean, I can say to Craig, I kind of want it like this, and he'll go, yeah, I get it, because we've worked so often and well together. And I just think Craig's approach when you go in the studio, it's just so calm, I mean, over the years, we've all worked with different people. I've been in many studios where the atmosphere is wrong. And my Gun Street gang who come in here, they just adore Craig. They say, he creates such a chill atmosphere, which gives you, it puts you in a headspace where you can truly be free as an artist and really give your best. And Mark said that, Dan said that when they came in, Jan. So I think it's a real joy for me working with Craig. I look forward to it immensely anytime I've got a project coming up, and I think we create something great together. I really do, and that's enough for me. Craig comes from a place of purity and from the heart, and the same with me, and I think combined we create good rock and roll, but it's honest, man, and it has feeling and it has soul. I love working with Craig. Who would I most like to collaborate with? Wow. I'd love to collaborate with Iggy Pop. I think that would be cool, I think. I love Iggy. He actually got me an aspirin once, years and years ago. I was out in a club in London, and it's called the Embassy Club, and I had a raging headache, and I can't remember who I was with, some bandmates maybe, but I remember having a raging headache, and I was like, oh, I got this fucking headache, man. And then and Iggy was there at this bar that night, and anyway, he ended up getting me an aspirin. So probably won't remember that, but yeah, Iggy Pop. Yeah, that would be great. It's a great question. What was the best advice someone gave me? And it actually came from Ian Hunter, who was in a great band called Mott the Hoople. Later went on to do the Hunter and Ronson band. Brilliant, one of the all-time great songwriters. He said to me when I was a kid, it's what you leave out that's important. I couldn't comprehend it because I was so young. But as you get older, you realize it's just so genius. So that was the best advice I got, because the space in a song is just as important as the song being full with instrumentation or lyrics or guitar solos. And it comes back to that saying, it's less is more. So that was the best advice I got. So thank you, Ian Hunter. Being a musician. That's the best thing about being a musician. The album will be available, official release on vinyl, CD, and all the streaming platforms that they have on February the 23rd. It's available on Secret Records Limited, which is a cool indie label out of the UK. Yeah, so that's when it's available. So I hope it all goes well.